Me live is Australian Cricketers Association CEO Todd Greenberg. Good to see you. There's been a lot of tears over the last couple of weeks. Today feels a bit different, about a celebration of Warne's life. Do you feel that too?
Yeah, very much. I think tonight will be a very fitting tribute and a great send-off for Warne. And, you know, people remember a lot of the things he did on the field. For us at the ACA, the representative of the players, what a lot of people don't know, he was a pioneer of our establishment as an organisation. He effectively dug the well for a lot of the current players. So whilst we affectionately remember all his exploits on the field, today's also an opportunity for us to remember the contribution he made off the field too.
What did he do? How did he mentor players?
Yeah, look, I think people looked up to him first and foremost. I mean, he's obviously an incredible cricketer, but genuinely off the field he's also a leader. And I think people looked for him for guidance. He didn't always get it right. I think we're all clear of that, but geez, tonight will be a celebration for him, there's no doubt about that.
What's the best thing he taught younger players, do you think? Not just about the game, but about living a life as a cricketer?
Yeah, look, I think the things that come through in my discussions with players is be prepared to make mistakes, own them, and get on with it, but also love the sport and love the game. I think that's one thing that came through very clearly with Shane was he genuinely loved the sport, loved competing, but loved cricket, loved the game itself.
I said this to Nick, and sometimes, you know, sport bosses don't like the off-field and the on-field mixing. Shane didn't always get it right, but in the end, we sit here today looking back at a legacy both on and off the field. He was authentic. Can you teach that? Yeah,
I don't think that's a taught behaviour. I think that's inside you. I think a lot of the public resonate with him because they see some of themselves in Shane. You know, and sometimes in our professional sport, you don't want to take the soap out of the soap opera. And there's a bit of that, I think, in all of the lessons we've learned. But, you know, it's clear that people love to gravitate to him. They love to watch him play cricket, clearly. And I think the way we're doing this tonight is a tribute to him and in some way demonstrating to all his friends and family how important he was in people's lives. So clearly he's taken to us way too early, but I hope tonight is that fitting tribute.
How have the players dealt with this?
Yeah, I was in Pakistan recently when the players found out about this in the first test and, you know, unbelievably shocked. And then the story started to come out. But that initial shock was replaced quickly by all of the things he'd done in cricket. And as I said, at the ACA, fundamental in the establishment of our association. So, you know, he leaves a very strong legacy, obviously taken too young, but he does leave a very, very strong legacy. His
era of cricket was a little different. I feel like the sport is much more professionalised. Even, you know, just a few years on, there's much more information about health and your body and looking after yourself.
Yeah.
Is there a bit of a lesson there from Shane, or are we already past that?
Oh, I think in all these things there's always a balance, you know. Yes, sports science has come into play and you get measured and analysed on everything now, almost no matter what sport you are. Cricket continued. You know, the days of Shane Warne, the way he prepares, is probably different to the modern day player. That evolves, but I do think there is a balance in all of that. Sometimes instinct is as important as the data.
You say you were in Pakistan when you heard about Shane's death. How did that country and those players react?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I took out of Pakistan was just how important cricket is as a sport there. It's been 24 years since we played in their country, so that was wonderful. But I've never been to a country in a professional sport where the opposition were greeted with so much warmth and love. And then the signs and the images around the ground for both the current players, but then when Shane passed, the love and affection for him, particularly from the people of Pakistan. So, you know, there are 250 million people in Pakistan and there's one sport they follow, which is cricket, so it's like religion. So I've never experienced anything like it.
Yeah, it's certainly an article of faith in Pakistan. Eddie Maguire was on the show a little bit earlier. He talked about Shane Warne's gold dust, and that's something that really resonates with me. I interviewed him once. He was flogging a hair commercial, and I didn't care because he was just so engaging, and he was such a pleasure to interview because he was thoughtful. He answered questions, and he was really forgiving of me as an interviewer. When's the first time that you met Shane, and did he leave that kind of impression on you?
Yeah, the impression I had in being in his company was, and it's rare in professional sport, when you've been in sport for lots of your career, you run into people occasionally who have real aura and gravitas, and when you walk into the room, they've got real aura about them, and the moment I met Shane, that's how I felt. In rugby league, I used to refer when Mal Meninga walked in the room, there was like, wow, he had a real aura and presence. And when Shane Warne walked into a room, I felt that same way. Now, you don't feel that about everybody, but Shane had that real presence. When he walked in, it was like, wow. And not many people command that in professional sport these days.
No, they don't. Todd, thanks so much for talking to us.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
No problems.